Targeted killings pose a rapidly growing challenge to the international rule of law. While over 40 states already have this so-called drone technology, the United States is the dominant user of drones to kill.
According to news reports, the Defense Department and the CIA have both compiled lists of people whom they want to kill, and some of these people are U.S. citizens.
There's a range of information out there in terms of newspaper reports and statements from public officials that has made it clear that Anwar al-Awlaki is on a kill list.
The case we're bringing is not about al-Awlaki's character or even about his alleged crimes. It's an effort to defend a right that all of us should hold dear, the right to due process of law. Everybody recognizes that the government has the authority to use lethal force in actual zones of armed conflict, in Iraq, for example, or in Afghanistan. But what we're talking about here is a use of lethal force against people who are located far away from those zones.
The United States, in particular, argues that the, quote, law of 9/11 enables it legally to use force in the territory of any other state against certain, quote, terrorists as part of its inherent right to self-defense.
Under international law, lethal force can be used against civilians only in narrow circumstances, only when it's a last resort, and only against true imminent threats. What we're talking about here is a bureaucratized program.
We want a court to issue a ruling as to the constitutionality of this plan. We want the court to issue a ruling as to whether this plan violates international law. And more importantly, we want the government to be clear on what criteria it's using in terms of determining who it's going to kill, who it wants to kill, and how it's going to happen.
It's critical that we believe that we are doing things that are constitutional, that we are doing the right things. But it's also critical that the rest of the world understand why we do what it is that we do, that we have standards that we abide by.
Because this program remains shrouded in official secrecy, the international community does not know when and where the CIA is authorized to kill, the criteria for individuals who may be killed, how it ensures killings are legal.
One of the dangers with this kind of program, a targeted killing program, is that we will end up killing the wrong people. Dozens of times, we've detained people as terrorists only to find out later that the evidence was weak, non-existent, or wrong. At least with detention, there's the possibility of a court challenge or the possibility of appeal. But there's no appeal from a drone. There's no appeal from a death sentence after it's imposed.
I think it is absolutely fair to characterize these as death sentences without due process. We don't know whether or not they're guilty, and we don't have any transparency in the government to confirm that they are.
If we were to set the precedent of going around the world and killing people that the United States thinks are suspects, that would be setting probably one of the most dangerous precedents out there, because there would be nothing to stop, for example, China from targeting its citizens in the United States.
The power to kill somebody without charge, without trial, without due process, that's an immense power, and we should be very wary of putting that kind of power into the hands of any administration. And maybe you trust this particular administration, but you have to ask yourself, will you trust the next one?
When the whole world is looking for a solution of how to deal with a terrorist threat, the one thing that we can't do in this country is abandon our principles, because it's the principles of international human rights that will get the world through this. If we abandon them, we can't hold anybody else to them, and then we will be in trouble for years and years to come.